On our couch today, it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Amba Sethi, someone who is not only an expert in psychology but also a true advocate for self-growth and empowerment. She has dedicated years to guiding people through personal transformation and step into a more confident version of themselves. Welcome Ambadi to the Confidence Couch.
Thank you for having me here. I'm so grateful that you honored me by calling me here on your couch.
So Ambadi, it's always interesting to hear how personal experiences shape our paths. Reflecting on your own experience, can you share your journey growing up and what inspired you to choose psychology over other fields?
Of course, I think a very important thing which inspired me, and I think which inspires and goes for everybody else, is having a parent, an unflinching support of a parent and your family. Right? Without that, I think very few of us would be able to achieve what we actually achieve in life. So besides that support, I think the second most important thing is having that curiosity, that openness to ask the why things are happening. And that is what exactly happened to me. I was working with a pediatrician, Dr. Makhija, and there I saw so many problems between children and parents.
Right.
And by then I had my own kids also, So I always had this why in my mind.
Okay.
Becoming that scientist, becoming investigative, So I always wanted to know what was the reason behind people's behavior, the way they're doing, why there is so much of anger, why people are not happy. So I think it was that exploration.
Yeah, the anger, anxiousness, everything together, and you wanted to know more about it.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So we know, Ambadi, like creating a comfortable atmosphere is key to building trust with clients. How do you use non-verbal cues to put your clients at ease during sessions? And what are some do's and don'ts from your side of the table?
So very importantly is basically that you have unconditional positive regard, absolutely no judgment.
Okay, right.
The person should be able to share his deepest and innermost whatever thoughts and feelings they have without fear of any kind. That is what we call a safe space.
Safe space, okay.
So providing the person with a safe space and of course confidentiality.
Right.
Where he knows, there's a very beautiful term which is used by Brené Brown, which is called being a vault. Like whatever you're keeping, whatever you're hearing, right? You just keep it inside you. It's there locked. You're sharing it with people.
Yes, in a vault.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's how you have to be, You have to be there with them. You have to just completely mindfully give them attention.
Right.
And they should have no fear at all.
So giving that safe place, that's the most important cue that you keep in mind while handling a client. Okay. So as a professional who helps others, you work closely with people through tough times. How do you build a trusting and confident relationship with them?
So as you very appropriately said, trust is built, right? Trust is built when you don't judge people, when you listen to them empathically, when you understand and validate their experiences, right? So you build up over time, that they know that, nothing is being said to anybody, when they know that they are not being judged. So it's something which builds up gradually and over, because, therapy is a process. So when you go through the process, it gradually builds up. The other person feels that my emotions are understood.
Right.
I am understood.
Right.
My emotions are validated.
Right.
See, the most important thing which we need is, if you see that in today's world, most of the people are struggling because they say this person doesn't understand me, nobody understands me, right? That is the struggle people are going through.
Right.
And for that struggle, when you provide an understanding place, you understand all their feelings, you validate their emotions, right? That builds up trust, because then they know that, this person will understand me.
What is missing in their daily life or daily in their atmosphere,
Yes.
You're giving that safe place to understand them. That is wonderful. So in your practice, as someone who guides others on their path to confidence, do you have a personal mantra for yourself or a philosophy that you turn to when you need a confidence boost?
Yes, of course. My personal mantra is my Guru Sadhguru, and he always says that all experiences are created from within. Now, situations will never be 100% the way you want them to, right? But to be able to handle different situations
Right.
with a sense of peace, with a sense of stability, I think that's the most important thing. So my go-to process is I do Sadhguru's Shambhavi. It's taught in a program called Inner Engineering, and I think every human being should do it.
Wonderful.
Harvard has done a lot of research on that,
Right.
that how it impacts our brain chemistry. So I think that's a go-to. For me, that's
That's a wonderful mantra.
yeah.
And we can see that inner peace in you and the glow and everything that you resonate, you radiate. So that's wonderful. So Ambadi, as a psychologist who understands the intricacies of human behavior, how do you think believing in oneself contributes to better mental health and overall well-being?
Great question. So see, believing oneself is so important, but believing in oneself doesn't mean that I should have no flaws. So believing in oneself, a very important part is that I am perfect with all my imperfections.
Right.
You know, we don't want to be at a place that, oh my God, I believe everything, so I can go and do the surgery even though I haven't done it.
Okay.
Yes. That's not, you don't have the clarity then.
Right.
Right? So you must have the clarity that I don't need to be perfect. I need to believe in myself that I can fall, I can fail, I can try again, that I can have my flaws and yet I can deal with them. I can have my fears and yet it's okay to have these fears.
Right. So accepting ourselves along with our insecurities, flaws and everything is the key.
Is the key.
Yeah, right. And it's so fascinating how mindset influences our perception and can shape us so much of our inner world. How can people reframe negative thoughts and self-doubt to build a more confident outlook on life?
The first step is awareness.
Okay.
If I'm not aware that what is a thought, right? A thought is a thought. Like you should be able to observe a thought.
Okay.
The moment you become aware that you have thoughts, you are not your thoughts,
Uh-huh.
and you begin to observe them,
Right.
that's when you can change them, right? So that's actually called the most superficial layer of abstraction. In the mind, the automatic thoughts which are coming, you can observe them, you can be aware of them,
Right.
and then you create that little distance between you and your thoughts,
Okay.
and you begin to observe them.
Okay.
And a very important thing you understand is thoughts are not the truth.
Okay.
Extremely important.
Thoughts are not the truth.
Thoughts are not the truth.
Okay.
Thoughts may not be accurate.
Okay. Yes.
Thoughts may not be balanced.
Very
Right.
true.
So when you start observing your thoughts, only then can you realize that what impact they're having on your lives, and you can actually change your thoughts.
Right.
And when you change your thoughts, you change the way you feel, and you actually change your life.
Very true. So I'll ask you this, that there's a common misconception that confidence means being loud and outgoing. So what is your take on this?
First of all, no judgment on being loud and outgoing. Sometimes it's required, you're in a party, you're at a place where you need to motivate people. You can always be loud and outgoing, right?
Okay.
So without any judgment to being loud and outgoing, you don't need to be loud and outgoing to have a sense of power or control. That's one of the reasons why people may be loud and outgoing.
Right.
Because once you have an inner strength, once you have an inner confidence, right, you will not need that.
Okay.
So we understand that a lot of times that need to be loud and outgoing comes from that lack of inner strength.
Is it like you fake it till you make it?
So fake it till you make it has a different connotation to it, because so many times you have to repeat thoughts in your mind and the time you're actually able to reach there.
Right.
So that has a different meaning to it. But here you are loud and outgoing because internally you're not confident.
Okay.
Otherwise, somebody who's internally confident or who has a sense of control within themselves,
Right.
will not want to control other people, will not want to exert a sense of power over the other people.
I get it. Right.
So you can be very soft and flowing and fluid and yet have a sense of power and
Power and confidence.
strength inside you.
Very true. So do you believe confidence is a life skill, or is it something that can be developed over time with practice?
So confidence is a skill. The word itself says skill, right? And what is a skill? A skill is something you build up with practice, right? I won't be, suppose I learn how to drive. I can't be confident tomorrow that, oh my God, I'm going to drive confidently, right? No, you build up that skill, and every skill you need practice, repetition, repetition, and repetition. You imagine a surgeon who comes on the first day and he says that, okay, now I can really operate on this person, and he has no practice,
Right.
right? So it's a skill, and similarly, confidence is a skill. you build up by doing things every day. It's not something that you have, it's something that you do.
Right. And also overcoming whatever fear you have, which is making you underconfident. So practice and overcoming that.
True. And the most important thing, I think, is overcoming the fear of failure.
Right. That is, I
Fear of
think.
failure is a very thing which, so when you remove the fear of failure,
Right.
you invite attempt.
Right.
Otherwise, people will not only begin to attempt anything because you are scared. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? So once you remove that fear, you invite attempt, and then when you do it repeatedly, you build confidence.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, what challenges do you encounter when helping people from different age groups navigate through tough times like these?
So I think at various stages there are various challenges, right? And one of the a very important challenge, which or very what I would say not important, I would say a major challenge is when parents are the cause for trauma in their children. The child is so helpless, right? A child who has a developing brain, a child less than 10 years of age, less than 8 years of age, has a developing brain which is really impacted by what their parents are doing.
Right.
So suppose there's a very angry parent, right? They don't know what kind of trauma it's causing to the developing brain of the child. And when a parent is ready to work on himself,
Right.
that's a very major, it's a very major positive, or it's an advantage.
The atmosphere changes.
The atmosphere changes. And that is for the children. And I think in youth, where there is a couple who's in a relationship, and when one couple is not ready to work on the relationship or has given up, it's a major challenge to be able to get them back on track and to really, help them understand that to work on a relationship, we need two people.
Right. Both sides.
Both sides.
So I think everywhere, I think whoever, all these situations have like give and take. There's a parent and a child, a couple, two people. So it becomes both ways we need to work on it.
Of course, because relationships are transactions.
Yeah.
We are transacting.
Yes.
We are communicating.
Very
right?
true.
And emotions are also contagious. So it's called the emotional contagion. So if a parent is stressed, the child is going to be stressed.
Of course.
You can't prevent that.
Right. So what advice do you have for individuals struggling with their self-image, especially regarding societal pressures of appearance?
So regarding appearance, I think you have to just love and accept yourself completely just the way you are. This body is going to be yours for a lifetime. This face is going to be yours for a lifetime, right? You really can't change it. So you love and accept yourself just the way you are. That's the most important. And one of the pioneers of this field, Louise Hay, she says like everybody should stand in front of the mirror and tell themselves, I love myself just the way I am.
Very true.
That's a very important exercise, and we do give to a lot of people. It's called mirror work.
Mirror work. Yes.
Yeah.
So it helps. If you self-talk, the positive self-talk, it helps.
True.
Right. True. So one last question before we jump into something fun. Throughout your career, what have been some of the most rewarding moments in guiding individuals through their personal transformation?
The ones I can recollect immediately and instantly is when I meet parents after maybe 10 years, 15 years, and I had counseled their children and them as when their children were very young. And they say, oh, thank you so much. My kid is doing wonderfully well. That time we had a session with you and it really helped. And now my child is doing so well.
I can understand.
It's extremely rewarding. But of course, I don't want to allow it to feed my ego. I'm not the doer. You have to have the grace. I'm just a medium, right? Which I am passing whatever I can, whatever little I can to the parents.
And like I always say, it's the grace that you have. It radiates to the other person also. So whenever you are around, I'm sure when the clients come to you, every individual who's facing something difficult, going through difficult times, it becomes very easy for them when they are with you. Okay, now I'm really excited to do this fun segment with you. You work with so many kids and teenagers every day. I bet you've heard some of the unique slangs. So here's a challenge. Let's test your knowledge on some Gen Z lingo and see how well you really understand them, okay? I'll throw out a few slang terms and you tell me what you think they mean. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Ready, let's go. Okay. What does it mean to say IDC?
Is it I don't see? IDK, I've heard it normally. I don't know.
Okay, so it's I don't care.
I don't care.
Right. So do people who say I don't care the most?
I think it's a way to, it's a put on to show I don't care. Right?
Yeah.
It's nobody who doesn't care.
Okay.
But you don't want to show it. It depends on who's in front of you.
Okay.
So to have that brave front,
Uh-huh.
I don't care.
Wonderful. So no shade.
No shade. I don't know, because the people who come to me don't use this language with me. No.
No shade means no offense. And are they very quickly offended?
So everybody has their own triggers and raw spots.
Uh-huh.
So we encourage everybody to notice their own raw spots and wounds. The places where they get offended the most
Right.
are their wounds.
Right.
That's a process of self-discovery.
Right. Okay, coming to next. We often hear people saying, flex this, flex that. What does that mean?
Flex this, flex that. Does it mean becoming more flexible? Does it mean becoming really more muscle-wise flexible? Does it mean
Flex this, flex that. In fact, the other way now, it's more like showing off, usually in a boastful way.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's so nice. So I had added
Right.
knowledge.
The Gen Z language, yes. Okay, coming to next. No cap.
No cap. No clue at all.
That's not the answer to it, though, but it's very close, you may say.
No cap means there's no end to it. Something like there's no cap on where you can go or what you can say.
It's like really me, such me.
Oh,
Such me.
such.
Yeah, like no cap. It's there.
Yeah.
So
It is what it is.
it is what it is, yes. So do people who always say such may actually feel the need to prove honesty more often?
So that I think depends on the situation,
Okay.
right? Because if somebody is really like, when people come and they want to, they're sometimes not aware of a fact that how they create their own reality.
Mm-hmm.
So when they want to really believe in something, such mein, oh, is it so true? Acha, sach mein aisa hai kya?
Okay.
It's that questioning in them where they want to hear that again and again for them to believe something to be true.
Right.
That's what is my take on that.
It's actually wonderful. Your take is always the better one. Okay. So next is Stan. Stan. Even I didn't know this. STAN. I learned it today.
No clue.
Okay. So it's like you're super fan of someone or something. Like abhi ekdam say you ask me, it's Diljit for me.
Okay.
So that way.
Yeah.
So why do people stan celebrities so intensely? Is there an emotional void or some unmet need within them?
So a lot of times I think it is the fame and the success they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrities are what? What do they stand for? They stand for a lot of fame, for success,
Power. Yeah.
or
Yes.
money.
Money.
And that's what a lot of the youth are looking for.
Right.
So when you see a person and you see that, oh my God, this person is superior to you or
Yeah.
much better to you in some way, right? That may be the reason that they actually look up at celebrities, right?
They stand there.
They stand there.
Right. And lastly, I think this generation's favorite term is red flag. Green flag, red flag. So what does you know that?
Yes, of course. That we use very, very often.
Yeah.
So red flags are generally things which we say, are either deal breakers, right? Or things which signify that, oh, it's an alarm. Something which is not going okay. Something which is toxic. Something which is not good for the person, for the relationship. Right? For example, if you are in a relationship,
Right.
and the other person is ghosting you for 2 days and then coming back after 2 days and telling you, okay, oh, I was busy, right? That's probably a red flag for
Red flag. Like, it's such an emotional trauma for the other person.
Yes.
Right.
Similarly, we have red flags for symptoms. Like if a child is not coming out of the room, if this isolating, a child is self-harming, they are red flags for mental health.
Right.
So we can have red flags for various
Right.
things.
So I think that was the end of it. And thank you, Amba ma'am. It was such an insightful time it has been with you. And I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt thanks for joining us on the Confidence Couch. Your wisdom, your warmth truly made this conversation special. I'm so grateful for the insights you shared. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Samta. Thank you for again having me here, and thank you for honoring me. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And it's time for the quote from the couch. Confidence is not about being perfect. It is about trusting yourself, even in moments of doubt. It is about embracing your journey, knowing that every step, even the uncertain ones, leads to growth.